decided that he'd better switch out his tattered old wiper blades with some fresh ones. The Pacific Northwest was, after all, famously rainy, and it was one thing to putter around Seattle in his battered old Camry, but it was another thing entirely to putter around Vancouver, a city he barely knew, with a rain-sopped windshield and impaired vision. So with the help of a YouTube tutorial on his phone, Lewis stood in the parking lot of the 7-Eleven and switched out his old wiper blades with the new ones. And they worked for a while, and then they didn't. And he hadn't switched them out since. Why should he bother? They were the least of his worries. The road to hell might be paved with good intentions, but Louis Goodwin's intentions, which as far as he was concerned, were as honorable as intentions got, would never lead him to a place as interesting as hell. If anything, his good intentions would most likely land him in hell's waiting room. He pictured spending eternity in a drab, windowless room with brown shag carpet, lifeless floral wallpaper, and corduroy couches with plastic covering. And maybe that was what he deserved. Lewis had once overheard a colleague describe him over the phone. It had been a rare after-hours occasion at work, and his then-office mate, Arlene Thompson, was making the obligatory call home to her husband. "At least I won't have to go through it alone," she had said wearily. "Lewis is here." After a brief pause, Arlene cast a quick glance at Lewis, then turned away. "You remember Lewis," she said, then dropped her voice to a whisper. "He's the one you called beige." Lewis remembered feeling hurt by that. But as he sat in his car and gazed out into the shadows, he wasn't really sure that beige could be considered an insult. If anything, it was an accurate and economical description. It was not only the color of his car, his suits, and his hair, or what little hair was left, but also his personality. Louis Goodwin was beige, inside and out. He had passed through life quietly, rarely left a lasting impression on anybody, and was, for lack of a better word, boring. Until now, that is. A bead of sweat crawled down Lewis's forehead. He pawed at the airflow knob on his console and turned down the heat. There were no streetlights at this end of Wabash Street, and the house, which he'd been casing for nearly an hour, was as dark as the sky above. Dark and quiet, and waiting for him to make his move. "I don't know why you're even bothering," said a voice from the passenger seat. "Even if you don't get caught, you'll fail." Lewis loosened his tie and gingerly rubbed his temples with his fingertips. A bolt of pain ping-ponged from one side of his head to the other. "I have to try." "And what if, and we're talking a big if, you succeed, then what?" I don't know," Lewis replied, which was the truth. He chewed on his lower lip for a moment, then said, "I only know that if I sit here and do nothing, I'll die." A snort came from the passenger seat. "I vote you do nothing, then." Lewis wheeled around and stared into the cloudy, gray eyes of his dead wife. She sat straight-backed and prim in the passenger seat, dressed in the same shawl-colored cardigan she'd been wearing when she died. That was almost 2 years ago now. "I don't even know why you came, Deb." "Not come?" Deb said, delicately placing a palm on her chest. "And miss your debut as a master criminal? I wouldn't dream of it." "Can you even dream?" Lewis asked, eyeing her up and down as if he were a wary customer examining a beat-up sedan at a used car lot. "Wouldn't know," she said flatly, then primped her hair in the side-view mirror. "Don't need to sleep anymore." "You never slept much when you were alive," Lewis said, and thought about adding wickedness as a powerful battery, but thought better of it. When it came to the art of verbal fencing, Deb was maître, prévôt, and moniteur, all wrapped up in one. Lewis would only end up stabbing himself. "And anyway," he continued, "I'm not even sure it's technically a crime." "Breaking and entering isn't a crime? Burglary isn't a crime?" "Raymond was my client," Lewis said firmly, then added less firmly, "and my friend. He gave me the code to the garage door. Why would he do something like that if he didn't?" "He may have given you permission to enter his house, but I'm sure he wouldn't like you taking what's inside." Whether or not he would like it.